Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy. And finally, the Java project is here. That's right. I know you are waiting for this from a long time. So basically, after watching Core Java, after watching Spring Framework, there was one question, right? What next? How do we build a project? And that's where I have a small project for you. So basically, we'll do this project together using Spring Boot, and we are going to use a database as well for data storage, right? And for this project, we are going to use MongoDB. Now, why Spring Boot? Why MongoDB? We'll discuss that a bit later. And also we need a front end, right? And for front end, we are going to use React. Now, basically in this project, we are not going to build React application. Let's say we already have the UI ready. Now we have to work on the backend part. So the backend part will be done with the help of Spring Boot, and the database will be MongoDB. Even before looking at the project, there is one particular question in your mind, and that is it a good time to watch this video? Maybe you don't know Spring Boot. Maybe you don't know MongoDB. How will you understand this project? So I am making this video considering two situations. The first one is, what if you know Spring Boot and MongoDB, the basics? You are at the right place. It's because you understand how will you use your knowledge of Spring Boot and build an application. And also, if you know MongoDB basics, you will know how to use the MongoDB cloud, which is Atlas. Now, what if you don't know these technologies? And that's the beauty. Now, I'm making sure that when I am explaining you the concepts, at least you will understand the flow of a project. You will understand why I'm doing certain things and why exactly that line of code. But yeah, if you want to do it by yourself after watching the videos, that's where you will get stuck. But of course, there's different way of learning stuff. Sometimes you have to learn from the basics, and sometimes you have to come from top to bottom. Okay, this is what you can do in the project, and now let me learn the basics. So it doesn't matter at what stage you are, you can enjoy these sessions. Now let me talk about the project which we are going to build. So the project is actually very simple. This is a project. Basically, we are building a platform for someone to get a job, and what if someone want to hire someone? So basically this portal or this website is good for both the employer and for the job seeker. Let's say you're a job seeker and you are looking for a job. I know this is a very basic UI, but again, as I mentioned, right, the idea of this video is not to understand the UI part. The main thing is the backend. So I wanted some UI, so we have it here. And you will find this entire project, the UI, the backend, in the description. So you will get a GitHub link, and you can access the project and you can run on your machine. Okay, so you don't have to type everything by yourself. Don't worry. Okay, so let me click on this get job now. So basically I'm looking for a job, and these are all the job description which I have. So these people are looking for candidates who know. So let's say if I talk about the first one, they're looking for developer, and basically they're looking for software engineer. Okay, I've just typed the description the way I want it. It doesn't matter. You know, the grammar may not be perfect. The technology might not match. We're just here to learn, right? So let's go with that. So we got some description looking for software engineer who can work with Spring Boot and MongoDB and React. Okay, you are watching the right project then. The experience required is 1 year. It should be a year, but then that's fine. These are the skill set required in terms of technology. Then we have the same profile. Let's say if you go scroll down, we also have junior data scientist, spelling mistake here, but you can ignore. So data scientist who has end-to-end project experience. That's great. 12 years. I'm not even sure if data science is that old, but anyway, it's my data. I can do whatever I want with that. Okay, so skill set required, Python, NumPy, and those stuff. Okay, so this looks cool, right? And also we have a requirement for editor who knows Final Cut Pro and who can use my Mac Studio. The actual editor is not using it, so I'm looking for someone else. Okay, doesn't matter. So let's say these are the profiles we have here. And now let's say if I have a lot of job requirements, let's say 1,000 or 10,000, how do I search for my specific requirement? Of course, you can use a search box here. So in the search box, of course, you can search for a particular profile. Let's say I want to search for developer. So I can type developer here, okay? And it should give me the results. So it is giving me all the results of developers. You can see developer, 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 developer here. But what if I'm not sure what profile I need, but I'm sure that I know something. Example, let's say I know threads. So I can simply type I know threads, and you can see it will find a profile where the skill set is threads. Okay, so basically we are also able to search. And that's exciting, right? Because you're implementing a search feature. And trust me, if you do it by yourself using a Java code or any programming language, it is very time consuming. And we have to write a lot of lines of code. So we'll understand how do we do this using the MongoDB Atlas. So here, let's say if I want to search for, maybe I'm looking for a job only in Mumbai. So I can type Mumbai, you can say it will give you the jobs which in the description where Mumbai is mentioned. So basically for sure, when you search for something, we are not just searching in a profile. So let's say this is a profile here, this is a description, this is the number of years of experience required, and these are the technologies you should know. So basically, we are not just searching in the profile, we are also searching for the description and the technology. Okay, maybe it's like a more of a Google search which we are trying to build. It will be quite awesome, right? And also, what if you want to hire someone? Maybe if we want to post a new job. So let's say in my office I need a requirement of a blockchain developer. So I can click on hire talent, and let's say job profile, I will say blockchain developer, and number of experience required is 2, let's say. Description, person should be familiar with Ethereum, developer who knows how to make dApps. That's it. And then the requirement is, let's say the person should know JavaScript. Anyway, we don't have a option of Solidity here, but again, I wanted to keep it light, so we got JavaScript there. You can change the UI the way you want. It's all about the submission which you do for the server. So when I click on submit, and if I search for, let's say, blockchain developer now, is it there? It should be. Okay, let me refresh. So you can see if I go back to this page, if I go back to get job now, we have a requirement for blockchain developer. Cool, right? And if I search for dApp, okay, you can see we got the developer here. Okay, so this is what we want to build. Now for this, of course, the React app is ready. So I will show you the code a bit, but will not be writing the React code by yourself. But we will be requiring a Spring Boot. So we are going to build this with Spring Boot, and we are going to use MongoDB in the backend. So let's get started. So we'll minimize this screen. I don't want this. And in fact, I wanted to show you the VS Code. So this is basically the React project which we have. So you can see we have multiple files here. This is for the form. This is for the feeds, what you see, all the developers, all the job posting. And you can see the request is getting sent to the server. Again, if you don't want to use React in the front end, you can use normal UI as well. Or even if you don't want to touch the UI part, I'm not a big fan of UI, by the way, we can use the APIs calling. Maybe you can use Postman to test these APIs, or we can use Swagger. Okay, so we'll use all those things in this project. I know it's quite exciting. So let's get started. Okay, so what we'll do is, first of all, let's create a project from scratch. Now, what are the technologies we are going to use here? So we are going to use IntelliJ for Java. We are going to use the database, which is MongoDB. Now, why I'm choosing MongoDB here? Why not other database? See, the thing is, there's a huge debate between SQL and NoSQL databases, which are good. I have made a video as well before this, so you can find the link in description, which talks about what is NoSQL. So basically, just to give you an idea, there are different types of databases available. You can categorize them as SQL and non-SQL. In SQL, we create tables, right? So we have a database. In database, we have tables. So in NoSQL, basically, we don't maintain the structure. Now, why it is important is because when SQL got famous, at that point, it was around 1970s. At that point, the memory was very costly. So we have to make sure that we use minimum storage and we can store maximum data. And that's why the SQL type of table makes sense. Now, if you talk about the current world, we have so much of data which is unstructured. You can't actually create the columns based on that. So what if your table is created and now you want to add a new column? Trust me, it's a big headache in SQL. That's one. So basically, we don't want to use SQL here. The second one is you want to scale your application. You want to have replicas of your database. It is very difficult to do it in SQL. Of course, you can have replicas, but then it's very difficult to sync it. So NoSQL database excel in that. And we can implement that with the help of MongoDB. So MongoDB is a NoSQL database where you don't have tables. What you have is documents. So if you want to relate, it's very easy. Database is there on both the side. In SQL, we use tables, right? Which has data. Here we have collections. So we can have tables related to collections. In SQL, you store your data in the row format, right? So if you want to represent a particular entity, let's say I want to store my information, my name, my age, my phone number, my email ID, that becomes one row. Now that in NoSQL becomes a document. Now the way we can have multiple rows in SQL, we can have multiple documents, which is a part of a collection. That makes sense, right? So basically whatever data you're storing, in fact, the data which you have here, this is a profile, this is a description, this is the experience, and this is a technology you know. So this becomes one document. And if you have multiple data, that multiple documents. Okay, and we don't have to install any software for MongoDB because we are going to use the cloud service. And trust me, this skill sets which we are going to do in today's session is very important. Okay, so I already have a IntelliJ on my machine, which is IntelliJ community version. We are going to use that. But then we want to create a Spring project, right? And since we have a community version, I'm not paying for it. So we have to make sure that we have that. Second, we want to create a service. We want to create a MongoDB service, right? So basically what we need to do is first we need to get the account on MongoDB Atlas, okay? It's very simple. You can just click on it. And the important thing is it will not ask you for credit card information, hopefully. Let's see if that is asking for you. So I will sign up with my Google account and this should be a quick process. So click on submit. You can choose your email ID and you can click on submit. I normally prefer to have Google login everywhere so that I don't have to remember the passwords. So it says, welcome, you use your account to deploy a cloud database. Okay, that's what we are going to do. And it's still building it. Okay, so basically it is asking you some questions. You can just enter, okay, we are here to learn MongoDB. Whatever application we are building content management and then preferred language. So basically we are going to do that with Java. Now that's the beauty about MongoDB, okay, which is you can use multiple languages here. Now, since we are going to use Java, so I can click on Java here and click on finish. Now, if you're getting confused how exactly the document looks like, so if you have ever worked with JavaScript, the JavaScript object, you know how you create, that's how the document is getting stored. So basically that's a JSON format for us, but in the storage, it is getting stored as BSON, which is binary sun, right? Which is JavaScript, or we can say binary JSON to make it easy. Okay, they're still loading the page. Maybe the internet is slow on my side. And that's what it is. We got our storage. The only thing is, it will ask you what type of service you want. Okay, so if you can go for serverless, you can go for dedicated, but you have to pay for it. Now, since we are into learning stage, we can select the free one. So you can click on share and you can click on create. It will create a cluster for you. Now, of course, this is not a point where we talk about cluster. Imagine you getting these services. And the beauty is you can choose any of this cloud service. So MongoDB behind the scene will allow you to choose AWS or Google Cloud or Azure. So we are going to use AWS here. Okay, so region is Mumbai. By default, you're selecting the good things. Don't need to change anything here. The only thing I want to change here is the cluster name. I will name this cluster as Telusko and click on create cluster. The next thing is it will ask you for the username and password to protect your database, right? So if you want to connect, you have to enter the username and password. So you can see we have the root. By default, I've entered this before as well. So it is taking the default values. So you can enter whatever data you want to have. I'm just typing root and root. And I will click on create user. So my user is created, quite simple, right? The next thing I want to do is I will be using this from the local environment. So I'm connecting my application, which is running on my machine, with the MongoDB Atlas. So we have to enter the IP address. I want to protect this by allowing that only my machine can use that database. So I can click on add my current IP address, click on that and click on finish and close. So by doing this, you got your database deployment. So as you can see, our database is created now. What's the next step? In fact, we got our cluster, not a database. If you can see, we don't have a database yet. So it says database deployment, but then we need to create a database. So you can see we have an option of database here. When I click on database, we already have one. Now what I will do is I will click on browse collection. So basically we don't have a database. We'll create that in this. So this is the dashboard and we can see we have an option of monitoring, but will not do all those things. Let's click on browse collection. And as I mentioned, the tables in SQL, you can map it with the collection here. So let's click on the browse collection and it's trying to retrieve the database and you can see we don't have it yet. So database is, node of database is 0. So we have a cluster ready, which is Telusko, and we need to create a database now. So click on add my own data. So basically you can also load some sample data set which they provide you. So if you don't want to have your own database or stuff, if you don't want to have your own data, so you can click on load sample. But since we have our own data, we can click on add my own data here and it will ask you for database name. So I will say this is for job listing and then the collection is job post. In fact, you know what I will do? I will also keep my database name as Telusko just to make it easy. And the collection name is job post. So click on create. Okay, so as you can see, we got our database name as Telusko and we got our collection name as job post. And as you can see, we have multiple options here. We'll see this aggregation search index later. So we'll have a separate video on it. And I also try to explain some of the more features, but as of now, just to keep it simple, let's say this is our data here. And as you can see, we don't have any data. It's empty. So we can click on insert document because I want to see some of the listings, some of the jobs. So I will click on insert document, and this is how you can insert. And the beauty is this data looks like a JSON format, maybe a key value pair, just to simplify that. Now, I don't want to enter the data by myself. I already have some data set ready with me. So as you can see, this is the data I already have here. So I will just copy paste this part into this. So as you can see, I have inserted data. Now how this data looks like, so you can see we have an ID here, we got description, the same thing which you were able to see on the page. We got experience, profile, and the technologies which you know. And you can see this is an array basically in Java. Now, how can you relate this with Java Pojo? So in the Pojo, we create a class, right? And we have different fields. Example, if you talk about a person will have a name, a age. Now that thing comes as a key value pair here. So you can say this is age, this is name and stuff. So I will click on insert. It will insert some 10, 11 records. And you can see how many records we have. So in total, we have 10 records. That's great. So even this is enough. In fact, sometime in real application, you'll be having a lot of data to play around. But let's say we have 10. And I want to fetch this data from my Java application. Okay. So remember, this is the thing we are building. So if I remove the entire stuff, this is what I want to fetch. So what I will do now is, so this thing is working because I already have this project ready in my IntelliJ. So if you can see, I was just doing some testing here. So the project is ready, but we are not going to use this project. So I will stop this. The moment I stop this project from this Spring Boot, so you can imagine we have two different applications running, the front end and back end. So what I will do now is if I go back to my browser, if I refresh, you can see data is not coming. You know why? Because the server is not running. Of course, you can print some message here, the server is down or something. Of course, that comes at a later part. But as of now, I'm not printing any error. You can check in the console log, it will show you the error that server is not running or something. Okay, so this is what I want to make it work. And as I mentioned before, you can also use a Swagger API. So let me show you what Swagger API looks like. Of course, we are going to build the entire stuff one by one. So let's say if I run this project and if I go back to my browser and here, I will run 8080 port and you can see the Swagger API is running with that. So if you don't want to work on a UI part, you can also use Swagger. And you can see we have a post controller here, and these are the options you have. So even if you don't want to use front end, you can use Swagger. You can get all the post. So you can see if I click on right now, execute, it will show me all the documents. Now this is coming because the server is running. Okay. Now if I stop the server, even this will not work. So if I click on execute now, so you can see we got an error. In fact, this Swagger itself will not work. So you can see that this is not working. So if I open the Swagger homepage, it's not running. So we have to make it work. Okay. Now for this, what we're going to do, we have to build the project from scratch. So basically, we have to go to one of the page, which is start.spring.io. Now basically, you can use IntelliJ Enterprise version, you can use Eclipse, you can use STS, your choice. But I'm going to use IntelliJ Community version, where you don't have an option of creating a Spring project by default. So I'm going to use start.spring.io, which is Spring Initializer. Now in this, we are creating a Maven project. So basically, imagine you're creating a project and you need certain modules, you need certain project structure. So you can click on Maven project here. And we are going to use Java language. The next thing is you have to specify the version, which is 2.7.4. The only thing is, if you want to use Swagger, this version does not work properly. So I will change the version once the project is created. But if you don't want to use Swagger, this perfectly works. The next thing you have to mention is the group. So I will say this is com.telusko. And the artifact is job listing. Okay, that's the project. And we can keep it as it is. This is the package name that works for me. And then we got the jar file. So we have to create a jar file here. So once you deploy the application, when you create a package, the packaging will be happening as a jar, not var. And you can choose a Java version. 11 works. So we can go for 11. Now that also depends upon what setup you have in your machine. So you need to have a core Java setup, basically a JDK setup. 11, 17 works. You can use that. 19 just launched. So you can use that as well. But I'm a person who prefers stability, so I will go for 11. The next thing is you have to add dependencies. Now, what are the dependencies we need here? So basically, we are building a web project. So I will use a Spring Web. Okay. The next thing I will need here is MongoDB. So I will search for MongoDB. So basically, we want to go for Spring Data MongoDB. And the beauty is, all these things which happen with less amount of lines. And trust me, it's beautiful. So if I click on this, you don't have to write a lot of lines, and sometimes it's tricky when you have a lot of lines. So I will click on generate, and you can see we got our project here. So what I will do is I will just unzip this project. So you can see this is the project which is unzipped. Okay, so I'm making sure that that project belongs to Idea Project. So in my user account, I have this folder which is called Idea Projects. I'm encrypting that project there so that I can open that from IntelliJ. So I will open IntelliJ. Of course, when you open this, you will not see the project. So this is what you will see, and this is my demo project which I've already done. And now I will click on Open Project from here. So basically, when you open IntelliJ IDEA, of course, this is the community version, free one. So I will click on Open and navigate to the Idea projects, and in that I have a job listing. Click on Open. Okay, we have to trust, we don't have a choice, and we got the empty project. As you can see, we don't have a code here, but I just want to verify if my Pom file has it. So Pom file, you can see the version is this may not work with you, so I'm going back to 2.5.7. There's not much change between these two versions, and it perfectly works. So this version normally works with Swagger. And so you also do it when you are trying this. Also try with the older version. And once it is working, then try to change the version to see if that is working. Okay, now these are the dependencies which I have, right? So you can see it is downloading dependencies. So whatever jar files you need in this project will be downloaded. But till that point, we also need 2 more dependencies, which is for Swagger. Now, how will you get this dependency? It's very simple. You can go to one of the website called MVN repository, and you have to get this two, the Swagger UI and Swagger 2. Okay, so you can click on that, search, and you can click on the first one. The version which normally works is, you can go for 2.9.2. You can see we have a lot of use here. So I will use this particular version, copy this, go back to your code and paste. The same thing you can do for the second one with the Swagger 2. So you can see I'm searching for Swagger 2 here, the first one, and the same version. Make sure that you have the same version so that you will not get any conflicts, and paste. So you can see we got these 2 libraries. And if I open my external libraries, you will find all this files here. So you can see we got MongoDB, we got Spring Framework files, and there should be for Swagger as well. It will be there, don't worry, it will be there. So let's say if I minimize this now, so we got Swagger. In case it's always good to refresh your Maven dependencies, you can also click on this Maven and click refresh. It will make sure that you have all the dependencies required. Anyway, otherwise it will give you error here if it is not working. You can see we have all the jar files. And now it's time to write our code. The first thing you will do is, if you go to your main, see, ultimately we have to connect our application with MongoDB, right? So we have to specify where do you have your MongoDB? Do you have your MongoDB in your system, or you're trying to connect the cloud? That's first. Second, what is your database name? What is username, password? Of course, right, for connection, you have to pass the credentials as well. So what I will do is I will do all the configuration. If you can see, we have a resource folder in which you have application.properties. This is where you do the configuration. Now what's the configuration I need here? So basically I need spring.data.mongodb.uri. So this is the first property you have to assign, spring.data.mongodb.uri, and we have to assign a URL. Now from where you will get the URL or URI? In that case, you will go back to our MongoDB, the cloud, and you can see we should be having an option of, if you go to overview, you can see this option of connect. Okay, so if you click on this connect here, it will ask you for what type of, from where you want to use this URI. So I want to say I want to connect to an application. So click on this. Now it will ask you which language you are using. So we are doing it with Java, and the version is this. And this, my friend, is your URI. So I will copy this and paste, done. Okay, the things we need to change, you can see it's a long string. The things you need to change here is, you can see this is your cluster name, and this is the URI, but password is not mentioned here. So you can enter the password manually. So the password for my machine is root. So username root, password is root, and that should work. The next thing I want to do is, this is where I want to specify the database name as well. So basically this is the property. So spring.data.mongodb.database, and this is where you have to mention your database name. And I guess database name was Telusko itself. So we'll skip it, Telusko. I can just verify once again. I can go back to the collections part here, and you can see we have a database which is Telusko. So use the same name. So database name is Telusko. Even my cluster name is Telusko. You can have a different. So make sure that you enter your database name here. Okay, that's it. This is the property you have to mention. And now I can simply close this. I don't even need the Pom file. Close this. Okay, now what next? Now we have to write a code to make it work. So what I can do is I can go back to my Java, and you can see we already have an application here. Now the thing is, I want to enable the Swagger API, and as of now, we don't have a Swagger API enabled. If you don't want to use Swagger, you can skip the entire step. And since we are not here to learn about Swagger and stuff, so just to give you an idea, it helps you to request to your web service. Okay. Now, if you don't want to use Swagger, you can skip this step. So if you can see, I have just copy pasted, and this is the only thing we are copy pasting, okay, because we are not here to learn about Swagger. So the only thing is you have to do is for the application, you have to enable the Swagger too, and we have to import the package for this. We have to make a bean because this is how this Swagger will be loaded. As I mentioned before, this is an optional step for the project. So I'm not explaining this stuff because I just wanted to show you how do you build an application. Let me import the packages. Okay, and the good thing is I will make sure that this project is available in your in the link in the description as a GitHub link. Okay, so this is done. We have done with our main. Okay, now this is only for Swagger, and we are not going to use this file anymore. So we are just enabled this Swagger. Okay, but then now I want to send a request to the server, right? Now how do we do that? So in Spring Framework, basically we use something called Spring MVC, which is Model View Controller. And here we have to first create a controller, and you can see we don't have a controller here. So what I will do is I will create a new class, and this is a class, basically the name would be, let's say, post controller, because now we are going to work with the post, right? Job post. So instead of saying job post every time, I will say post controller, and that's our controller here. Now, how do you make this as a controller? It's very simple. You make this controller with the help of REST controller. Okay. And in this, you will write your methods. So for every request you want to send, let's say I want to fetch all the post. So I can use the URL, which is localhost:8080. That's the port number where the server will be running. And I can say /all post. It will give me all the post. What if I want to submit a new request? So I can say /post with the post method. So the first one was get method. The second will be post method. And what if I want to search based on a term? And for that, we can use again a get to fetch. But in this particular video, we are going to focus only on how do you get all the records. Okay, that's it. Or maybe I can also do it for the submit part. But the first thing I want to do is I want to enable this Swagger, right? So in that case, what I can do is I can create a method, and this is only for Swaggers. I can say redirect. So every time someone send a request for the home page, it should redirect to the Swagger page. And to do that, we have to import HTTP servlet response. Okay, so basically what I want to do is every time someone requests for the home page, okay, we have to do the mapping for that as well, which is request mapping. So when someone requests for the home page, we have to mention that, hey, call the Swagger API, okay? And to do that, what I will do is I will say response.redirect. And in bracket, I can mention swagger.ui.html, and it is giving me some error. Okay, it's asking me to add the exception. So I will say throws IO exception. And that's it. The Swagger UI will be ready. Let me just prove you that. Now to prove that, I will run this application first. I will right click the main application and say run. Okay, it will take some time. I hope it will work without any error. Okay, you can see it is working. And how do I verify that? So I can just go back to the browser and okay, Swagger API is not working. Refresh, enter. And you can see we got our Swagger API. It's simple. And this is our controller name. If I click on this controller, you get all these options by default. But I don't want these options. So in that case, what I can do is I can just write API ignore. Oh, API ignore. Okay, that's it. So when I say API ignore and the server, go back here, and now when you refresh, so you can see it has removed all the predefined requests. We want to define our request by ourselves. So I can say no operation defined in the specs. Okay, that's good. So what I can do is now I can define the request. Now what request I want to send? So basically here, I want to have an option of fetching all the post. Now for that, I can create a mapping. So basically I want to, what mapping we want to do? We want to map it for all the posts. So I can say public, which will return the list of posts. Now what is this post? Hold on. So for the document, I also want a POJO, right? Which will map the document and POJO. Okay, we don't have a POJO here. And one more thing, the post controller should be a part of a controller, right? So let me just move that. So I will say new package, and I will make this as a controller, and let me just move this. I want to create one more class here. In fact, one more package first. Package, and this is where I will keep my models. And in this model, I want to create a POJO. Now what POJO? a mapping class which will map my Java class with the document. So I want to name this as post itself, the job posting, okay, not the post method of HTTP, the job posting. And here I want to have some variables. Now, what are the variables I need? So if you compare with the database, if I go back here, so you can see we have a description here. Let me just increase the font size a bit. It's not visible. So you can see we have a description, we have experience, we have profile, and we have technology, which is an array. The same thing you'll be doing here. Okay, so what are the things we need in the post? So first of all, we need a profile, right? So if you remember the database, we had profile, description, technologies, and experience. So let's put that. So we got first thing we are going to get is the profile. Then we are going to get the description. Then we'll need the experience and the technology. So we can say text. That makes sense. Okay, but then this text will be an array, and that's done. Of course, you can keep this bracket here as well. That works. And for this, I need getters and setters. So I will right click. I will say generate. I want a getter setter for all the fields, and click on OK. And with this, I also need a constructor. Generate a constructor with. In fact, I want a blank constructor without any field. And we also need a toString in case if I want to print. That's it. So I will say right click, generate toString. Okay. So we got our post, right? It's so simple. Okay. So going back to the controller, we got our post now. So we can import the package. That's imported. And we have to also import the list. That's done. So if I want to fetch, what method should I have? So I can say get all posts, even that works. And name doesn't matter, right? So we can say get all posts. And now I want to do a mapping for it. So when do you call this particular method? See, of course, the home page is done. Now home page returns the Swagger page. But let's say in this Swagger, if I go back and I want to have, let's say, a URL which requests for all the posts, it should fetch the post. So in that case, I can just go back here. And for get request, I can say get mapping. And the URL which I want to have is, let's say, all post. So if we are requesting for all the posts, or maybe I can simply say posts. That works, right? So we can say posts and it should return the post. But then how do I return the list here? By default, it will return empty. That works. Now, if I want to fetch this data, what I will do now is I want to return the list. How will I get the data? So of course, I want to fetch this data from database, right? Now, if you know CoreJava, JDBC and database, we have to write a lot of steps, right? But not in Spring. So we can use Spring Data. Remember, we have added one of the library for Spring Data. This one, Spring Starter Data Mongo. So basically, we can use that to fetch data. And for that, what I can do is I can create a new interface, basically, not the class interface. And we'll name this as, let's say, post repo, or we can say repository. Okay, now this is how you will fetch data. Okay, you don't have to write any methods, any implementation. I know that sounds new for some people. They're like, hey, without writing any queries, without writing anything, how can I fetch data? Let me show you the magic now. So what I can simply do is I can implement this interface, or not implement, I can extend this interface with the Mongo repository. And in this, you have to mention two things. The first thing is what type of data you want to fetch, which is of post type. So basically, this is the mapping. So whatever data, whatever document you fetch will be a type post. And the next thing is the primary key, basically. But then we don't have a key, so I can keep it string. I'm assuming that it will be string. Okay, so let's get it that way. And then that's it. We don't have to write any methods in this. You don't have to create any class which implements this. The Mongo repository will take care of all the CRUD operations. Fetching, creating, updating, and deleting. Okay, that sounds fun, right? Let me show you. So what I can simply do is once I got this repository, remember I'm not creating any class or stuff. I'm just going top here and I'm saying create the object of post repository, not the object, but not the object of the interface, but behind the scene, the Spring framework will create a class for it. It will create an object for it. You don't have to do that. And I will simply say this is a repo. And I will just map this as AutoWire. So when you say AutoWire, it simply means Spring will create an object for you and it will map it. That's it, that auto-wiring part. And you don't have to do anything else. Just come back here and say repo.find all. Can you see that we have so many methods? We have not written those methods. It's inbuilt in Mongo repository. That's it. I know you will not trust me at this point. The only way I can prove my point here is by restarting the application. And I know you might be saying there's a difference between the time here. It's just that my camera was not working properly. So I have to take a pause and do it again. And if I refresh, oh, can you see that? We got all post. And if I click on this, hopefully this will work. It's already been a lengthy video. I will click on try it out, execute. Oh, okay, we got data, but it's not printing data here. Oh, something went wrong here. So we're requesting for posts, and it is requesting for the post find all. Okay, now what is missing? Remember when we go for the post repository, we have mentioned that there's a post, right? There should be mapping, but post is not aware of that. So what we have to do is we have to say document here, and we have to mention which collections this will map to. So this will map to, okay, what's my collection name? If I go back to my thing, it is job post. So we'll just come back here and say job post. Now this should work. So if I restart the server, there's no error. And if I go back to my Swagger API, hopefully this time it will work, execute. Oh, can you see that? We got the data. This is what we wanted, right? Oh, it's working. And if you look at the code, it's so simple. We just got a controller here where we are doing the mapping. We got the post repository and nothing much here. We're not declaring any methods or stuff. And if I look at the post, this is just a POJO. So fetching is working. That's awesome. How about posting the data? What if I want to submit data? Maybe I want, so apart from this all post, I also want to have post, which will submit data, a post method. Let's try. This should be simple. So I can simply create another method here for posting data. What if I want to get my own records? So I can create a method which will return the post itself. So whatever post you are submitting, it will return that. And I will say add post. Of course, method name can be anything. And okay, the mapping, what type of mapping I'm going to do? Any guess? We are submitting data. So for submitting, we have to use post mapping. And here we have to specify the URL. Can I say URL post? See, when I say posts for get, it will fetch. Okay, so in the method we are specifying its get method. So it will fetch. In post, we are submitting data. Okay, this post and post might be confusing, but this post is basically the job post. This post is a HTTP method. But then when you submit data, we have to also accept it right here. So I can use a request body here to accept. Now see, if you don't understand all this concept, see, flow is something very easy, right? But what if you want to do it by yourself? Don't worry, I have a Spring Boot tutorial. You will find the link in description, which explains each and everything properly. This is a project video, right? So I'm just focusing more on the project part. Okay, so request body, and here I can mention the object where it will receive the data. So I want it to receive data in a post format. So whatever data you will submit from the client side will be accepted here in the post object. I know that's something which Spring is amazing at. Okay, once you got the data, I can simply say repo dot, which method I have to use? For saving, I think there's a save method. Yeah, there's a save method which will accept the post object. That's it. No need to mention any query. No need to mention any code for it. We're done with this. But I guess save returns something. Okay, what I will do is save returns the object of post. So we can simply say save, which will return the post object, and we're returning it. That's it. And here, I think it should work. If I go back, we have to restart the server. So you can see we are fetching data. We are also submitting data. And if I go back, refresh, okay. Okay, so that we got post here. That's awesome. And you can see it will give you some demo data as well, so that it is already mapped, right? So I want to submit data. I can say description. Okay, description. First of all, I will set the profile. Profile I'm looking for is blockchain developer. And here description can be Ethereum developer with dApps experience in Mumbai. Or maybe I can say this time I can say Pune. Okay, experience, I need only 2 years. Blockchain developer, technology, what you should know. Let's say you should know Java. I don't know why you should know Java, but let's say Java. Then we can say Solidity, and you need to know XML. I don't know why, but let's say XML. And let's click on execute. It should work. Oh, it worked. Can you see that we got the data? But then we are getting the data on the client side, right? Let's verify from database. So if I go to database now, and let's see if that is there. Let me refresh the database. Hopefully it should be there, it should be there, it should be there. If I scroll down, 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 can you see that? We got the blockchain developer, Ethereum developer, whatever we have written there, and the array of your skills. Awesome. It was so simple, right? So basically we were able to request data, we were able to save data. But of course, at this point, we have only worked with the Swagger part. We have not connected with the UI. We'll do that. And also there is no searching option. Okay, we have not created something for searching. We'll do that in the next video. So in the next video, we'll also try to understand how will you use MongoDB, what is the feature it provides, and then we'll explore one more application which is called MongoDB Compass. Okay, which is a UI. Basically, I'm just, everything which I want to do, I'm just going to the browser, right? And I'm accessing the cloud service. What if I want to access everything on a desktop application? Sometimes it is very easy to access a desktop application than going to the website. So we'll try to explore that as well. In this video, we'll focus on two important features of MongoDB. The first one is the MongoDB Compass, and the second one is MongoDB Atlas Search. That's right, search. Because remember the first video, if you have seen it. So basically we were able to search the data from the document, and irrespective where that data is it a key or in the values? Okay, somewhere in the description, there was something mentioned it was able to search. Search for every text, not just the title. Okay, so let's try to implement that. So how will you get the compass? So there should be an option here. Otherwise, what I can do is I can just go to Google and search for MongoDB Compass, and this is the website. In fact, you can directly click on download, but let me just go to the website first. So this is how the MongoDB Compass website looks like. So this is a GUI for MongoDB, that's right. So basically you can access the MongoDB Atlas from the browser. In fact, we have multiple options. You can use MongoDB on your local machine. When you do that, basically you have to use the console and you have to type a lot of commands. And if it, of course, as a programmer, it's a good thing. But if you want to use a GUI tool, you can use Compass for that as well, which connects with the local system. Or you can use Compass to connect with the cloud as well. You have a choice. So this acts as a GUI for both. And for this example, we are going to use Compass for the cloud. So you can click on download now, it will download, and it's a straightforward setup. You can just click next, next, next. Nothing difficult. It's just that you have to specify which version of Compass you want to download, which platform you're using, and what format you want to download. So click on download, it will give you the setup. Now, once you click on the setup, once you click on next and install, it's very easy. Nothing fancy there. The only thing is when you open MongoDB Compass, you need to do some configuration. That's it. When you open it, and I have just clicked on it. It might take some time. So this is how your MongoDB Compass will look like. And you can see it will ask you for the connection. Now, MongoDB Compass is not sure. Do you want to connect with the local machine or from the cloud? Now, based on that, if it is a local address, this is the port number, you can click on connect. But I think in my machine, I don't have a local setup. You can see connection refused. I don't have the local setup. But what I have is I have a cloud. And to connect the cloud, you have to enter the URI. Oh, from where you will get the URI? Remember, in the project, we have done that. But if you have not following the project, that's completely fine. When you open your, let me just start from the cloud itself. So when you go to the MongoDB Atlas and when you have your database here, you can click on connect. And when you click on that, you can see we have multiple options. But this time we are going for the MongoDB Compass. And the beauty is they both have the same URL. So we click on this and I will say, yes, I have MongoDB Compass. And the version is this and later. This is the URI. So just copy this. And for my database, I have a username which is root. And the password is also root. So I will replace that with this. So here, I just have to replace this part with root. That's it. And click on connect. I hope it will be connected. Oh, it is. You have to also mention the database, right? Why just giving test database? I want my database. It should be Telusko. Let's try. So click on connect and it says connecting. Oh, it connected. Can you see that? You got your host, and that's the beauty of MongoDB. So every time you create a database, it will create multiple replicas of it. Of course, we have to be fail safe, right? What if you have only one server and that goes down? You need a backup servers. So MongoDB, for every database, it creates 2 extra copies for you. We call them as replicas set. So in total, you have 3 working databases at the same time. And you can see that is what you can see here on the left-hand side. If I click on databases here, it will show all the database which we have created, and we have created only one, Telusko. It was by default. And if I click on Telusko database, you can see it is giving you option of the collection, which is job post. If I click on this, we got all our records. So it's better to use the GUI than using cloud. The only drawback which I can see is if your machine is slow, Compass will give you issue. That time you can use cloud, but it's not that heavy. Normal machine can take it up. So again, it's dependent upon the developers what they want to use. I normally prefer to use the cloud service. Some people prefer to use the GUI tool to do everything, or the desktop application. But again, that is preferred, depending upon the people. Okay, now this is the first thing I wanted to show. The next thing is I want to implement the search feature, and this is the beauty about Atlas search. So in the MongoDB, the Atlas, we use something called a search option. Remember, whenever we work with data and we have created database, right? And normally we only had around 12, 13 records or 11 records. In normal databases, which is production grade, we have thousands of records. Oh, that's less. We have millions of records. Now, if you want to search for a single word from all the records, trust me, it's very time consuming. So basically, as a user of that application, when you type, you have to wait for minutes to get the output. And we don't have that much of time, right? So how will you speed it up? And that's where in the database concept, we have something called indexing. So every field, every text will be indexed so that it will be easier for search. Okay, but then how will you do that? Do you have, as a developer, do you have to do everything? Not exactly. If you can see, the same option is there on the cloud as well. Okay, so you can click on this index and you can create index from here. But since as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of cloud, so I will be doing that from the cloud itself. So let me go back to the cloud service. And if I go back here, okay, so I will click on my collections. There is an option of creating a search index. So if I click on this index, okay, this is where you can create your index. So it says make your data more discoverable with Atlas search. And I can create the index here. The only thing is when you're creating the index, it will give you two options, visual and JSON. I'm a newbie to this. So I will click on visual. That's what we do, right? When you learn something new, you go with the basic steps. Keep it simple, learn the first layer. And I always believe in the learning where we have onion peel like learning, right? We have different layers. So you learn the basics and then you learn the advanced part, then you learn the more advanced part. So I will click on next. It will ask me for the index name. By default, the name will be default. Keep it that as it is. You can change it, but let's keep it default. And you can mention what database and collection you want to index. I want to index the job post. If you have multiple databases and collection, it will show you the options. You can choose one and click on next. And that's done. Oh, we have to click on this create search index. Now, before I do that, in fact, let me just do that and I will show you something. There's interesting thing called index fields. There's an option of dynamic. So what happens is, by default, it will try to index everything from your database or everything from the collections. It's good, but then if you have a huge database and if you have huge number of documents, it is very time consuming because it will take a lot of time. Second, it will consume a lot of memory. And sometimes we don't want to do that. Why you will not do that? Because what if you have multiple fields? Let's say we have 8 or 10 fields in the document. And not everything need to be indexed. Maybe you can specify these are the three fields which I want to index. Example, in our case, maybe I want to index description. I want to index the profile. That's it. I don't want to index other things. I can specify that with the static mapping. By default, it's dynamic. It will map everything. I can also make it static. Now, even for 11 records, it is taking so much of time. Maybe it is done. I'm not sure. Let me just refresh this. So you can see we got only 11 records and it is working now. So the mapping is dynamic mapping here. And if that's done. So indexing is done now. Let me just go back to my collections. So that's the first thing. If you want to apply the search, you have to first create the index. And now using that index, you can actually test it. Okay, how do I test? Let me just go back to search. There should be an option of testing as well. Click on Visual Editor. Okay, so if I click on Visual Editor, you can see we have an option of search tester. It is indexed, right? You should be able to search now. Example, let's say I'm searching based on Java. So if I say Java and if I click on search, it will show all the documents where Java is mentioned in the profile, in the description, or in the technologies. Example, in the blockchain developer, we don't have Java mentioned in the profile and in the experience, in the description, but it is mentioned in the technologies, if you can expand this, you can see we have a Java here. So basically everything is indexed. It is easier to search and you can use the search from the client side. But you will say, hey, that works, right? I mean, this is working from the cloud. What if I want to do that from the Java code? That's tricky, right? How will you do that? Let me show you how to do that. So if I go back to the collections and if I click on aggregation, can you see that we have an option of aggregation? Now this is where you can create a pipeline, what you want to search. And it's not like you can search only one thing. Maybe I want to search based on Java. And even for Java, let's say we have 50 records. So let's say in total we have 200 records. And if I specify Java, it is giving me only, giving me, let's say, 50 records. Now, out of 50 records, I only want 5, and that too in the sorted order of experience. Can we do that? So basically, you can see I've applied 3 filters. The keyword, Java. Second, I want to sort it, and I also want to limit the number of posts which I can see. So we can do that from the aggregation. So if I click on aggregation here, it's taking some time for the aggregation builder. So if you don't apply any filter, it will show all the posts. So in total, how many posts we have? So we can see we have 11 documents here. But then if I want to apply a filter, I can do that from here. So you can see we have an option of stage. By default, it will show you one stage. I will click on select. Now you can basically apply multiple operators here. The first operator which I want to use is search. So if I scroll down, you can see we have an option of search. And this is what it will give you. So I will just remove these extra things from here. Now index, what index we have? Remember when we created the index, we have to also mention the index, okay? So if index has not specified or not created, this will not work. So you can specify the default, but even if you don't mention, that's fine. Since we have a default index, we don't have a different name. So you can skip this part. Next, you can specify the query, what you're searching. So basically I'm searching for Java in description. Or maybe I can specify in text. Now you can see it is only giving you 8 documents. So out of 11 documents, it is giving you 8 documents here, which has Java in it. Okay, that makes sense. Now you will say, what if I don't want to just search Java in text? Let's say I want to search for Java in description, profile, everywhere. So what you can do is you can make this as a list. So we can say list of text, comma, maybe I want to search in description. Maybe I want to search in profile. So basically we are searching for Java in everywhere. And also we only got 8 documents, which is there. So you can see we got Java in profile. We got Java in profile, okay. We got Java in technologies this time, right? And we got Java in, we have Java here. So basically this is how you get it. This is how you apply search. What if you want to apply a sorting on this? How I want to sort this? I want to sort this based on the experience. You can see we got experience 10, we got experience 5. I want to sort in ascending order. So what you can do is you can apply a stage here. That's what aggregation is, pipeline, right? The first search, then sort it, then limit it. So we can expand this and I want to sort. So we can just scroll down here and you can see we have an option of sort. Now it will ask based on what field you want to sort. I want to sort based on experience and sorting order. So if you say 1, it is ascending, -1 is descending, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So 1 is ascending. So you can see the experience, we got experience here. The first profile has experience 1, second profile experience 2. It is working. You can see that we got experience 5, experience 10, and then list goes on. It keeps increasing, right? So the sorting is also done. And that's 8 documents. But I don't want 8 documents. I only want 5 documents. Again, I can apply a stage, and this time I want to do it I want to limit, right? So limit should be there. Yeah, limit is here. And it says how many documents you need. Mention the number. I will say 5. And that's it. You can see here it is loading sample 5 documents and we only got 5 documents. It's that beautiful, right? And yeah, you got your pipeline. Now you will say, okay, that the pipeline is done here itself. What if I want to do that from the code? We have still not done that, right? Okay, that's one thing. We'll do that, okay? In the next video, we'll try to implement this feature in the Java code. But before that, I want to mention one more feature of MongoDB. Now, MongoDB Atlas has one more feature, which is client-side field encryption. Now, what it means. Example, let's say you have a client application where user is submitting data. Now, it can be your name, it can be your age, it can be your email ID. That works if anyone can see that. Even I don't think email ID should be shown. Email ID, SSN, maybe there are some sensitive information. So you have a bunch of data with you, and some of the data is public, is okay for you, but I want to encrypt some of the fields, maybe email ID, SSN number, or whatever fields we have. How will I do that? What I want is from the client side, the moment your data goes on the public database, of course, right? In MongoDB, behind the scenes, it is using AWS, Azure, GCP, which is a public cloud. I don't want to compromise my data based on their security. How about encrypting the data and sending it there? So basically, it provides you something called field encryption, where you can specify which field you want to encrypt. From the server side, okay, let's say this is your server, that's your database. The moment you send your data from server to database, it will get encrypted, okay? So what you save in the database is encrypted. But what if you want to get data back? When you fetch data from database, it will be coming in encrypted format itself. But the moment it is received on the server, where you have your driver, it will get decrypted. Okay, so basically you don't have to do that decryption. Atlas will take care of it. Of course, we're not going to do that in this course because that's a way out of the curriculum, but yeah, we can do that. Again, try that. There's some amazing documentation available. I will try to put that link in description as well. Otherwise, you can search for client-side field encryption using MongoDB and you will get the documentation. Now, basically till this point, we were able to create a Spring Boot project, which has basically some controllers using which you can request to the database, which is in MongoDB. And we have some documents available there. We have a collection using which we are fetching data. And then we were able to fetch data. We were able to submit a new post, right? We are basically working with a job post application here. And then in the previous video, we have also seen how do we create a search index? How do we create a pipeline? And then we were able to filter data, right? So basically we were able to search, we were able to sort data, we were able to limit. If you have not seen those videos first, I would recommend you to watch the first two videos to get proper understanding what we are doing. If you have already seen that, let's continue. So basically at this point, we know how to do it from the MongoDB aggregation pipeline console, and we were able to get the data, right? But now I want to achieve that with the help of Java. So how do I fetch data from Java application? Whatever we have done here. And I think that will be tricky, right? We have to write multiple lines of code, multiple files to filter out and all those stuff. Let's see how complex that would be. Apart from that, we'll also connect our application with the React project. Remember, we have the React project which was not working because we stopped the earlier project which was working, and then we are building the Java project from scratch. So we'll also connect those two applications. Let's see how. So basically, the pipeline is ready here, right? So this is what you got. But now what I want is I want to do the same thing from Java. So maybe as a Java developer, when you, maybe we can create an API where you can search for a particular term and it should do those processing here. Now to do that, it's not very complex, okay? So in the Java code which we have here, we can add one more controller. Let's say, let me just add one more controller here, which is public. It will return the list of posts, of course, the same thing, but this time it will be filtered, right? So the difference between, in fact, let me just write it next to or just below the get mapping, this one. So this should be similar, right? Or maybe I can say search to make it simple. So we are searching for something, right? So it should also return some data. So I can say return repo.findAll. As of now, let me just go with findAll. And the request for this would be get mapping. And I want the request type should be, it should be for posts. The only difference is in the post, I will also specify the text which I want to search. Example, let's say I'm searching for Java. So it should be Java. But then I want to make it dynamic. So I can say text, whatever user is entering. So if a user says Java, this will be replaced by Java. If a user says blockchain or maybe Mumbai, so whatever text a user want to search, this will get replaced. But how will I accept that in a variable? So in that case, we have one more annotation which is called path variable. And I can say string text. So whatever data is coming here, example, the URL is, let's say, posts/Java. Now this text will be replaced by Java, and that's what you will get here. Okay, as of now, we are just doing find all just to see if this works and whatever text you are passing here. And how do I verify that? Let me just run this code. I will restart the server. And okay, everything is working. There's no error. Let me just go back to my browser and Swagger the UI. Let's refresh. Controller. You can see we have 3 now. So initially we had only 2. This time we also have a text search. If I click on that, it will ask you for a text. Oh, we have not. Okay, try it out. It will ask for the text. Let's say if I say Java, and if I, let me be very, very specific, which is Mumbai, because we only have 1 or 2 with Mumbai post. But if I execute, you can see we have received multiple, not just 2, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, you can see we have received multiples. Filtering is not happening. Okay, we have to do something for that, right? Now, why it is not working is because it's very simple. We are saying find all. We should not be saying find all. We have to be very specific. Can I say search by text? I mean, whatever text I'm getting here, it should search by text, or maybe I can say find by text. So I can say find by text. But you can see it is giving you error because there is no method which says find by text. That's tricky. So what I can do is, instead of touching our post repository, which is very specific. So post repository is extending Mongo repository here, which provides you basic operation, fetching data, posting, and all those basic features, right? CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete. If you want to do something else, you want to search based on your own condition, that's where we have to implement it. That's where we have to do some customization. So what I can do is, I can just create one more. Okay, this should be a part of something else. This should be a part of a repository package. So I can say this is repository. And I want to move this post repository here. And in the same repository, I want to create one more class now, or interface actually, which is, let's say for search post, or maybe I can say search repository. I'm just finding a good word for it. So I can say search repository, that's it. Now in this, what I want is, I don't want to use any MongoDB already present methods. I want to create my own. So can I create a method? In fact, it's an interface, so I can declare it here. So I can say find by text, which will accept a string. I can say string text, right? And it should return the list of posts. So basically I'm creating a new interface, but then the only thing is, this thing is not present in the Spring data or MongoDB features. We have to implement it by ourselves. Okay, for that what I will do is I will create a class which basically implements this. I can say search repository implementation, and this particular class should implement our search repository. As I mentioned, we have to implement this code by ourselves, right? Okay, it says we have to implement a method, which is this find by text. So basically we have to return a list, right? So what I will do is, as of now, let's keep it empty. So I can say list of post, and I will also make this as a final variable, because it's good to have a final variable when you know that it will not be changed. Okay, so I will name this as posts itself equal to, it's an array list. So I can say array list. Okay, that's it. So we have created this array list here, and we have to import the package. Is it done? Am I missing something here? Oh, I'm missing a new keyword. My bad. Okay, so you can see we got the list here, and the same list I will return. Of course, at this point, it will return an empty list, right? And I just want to verify if it is doing that. So I will restart the server. At least it should return an empty list. It should not be giving all the data. Okay, it's not working. Oh, I forgot to do one more thing. This is a new class which we have created, right? And I want my thing to read this. So I can say it should be component. Yeah, one more thing. In fact, in the post controller, we still have an error. We don't want to say repo, right? Repos don't have find by text. Where do we have find by text? It is there in the search repository. So apart from the post repository, I need to create one more, which is search repository. And I can call this as srepo, which is for search. I'm very bad with names, so let's go for srepo. And here, we'll say this is auto-wired. So basically now we have two different repositories. One which is getting the features from Spring Data, and second is from what we have created. And instead of creating this as repo.findText, we have search repo.findText. It is asking me for the text as well. Let's enter that. So at this point, things should work, and we should get an empty string. Let's verify if that works. Let me just run this application. No error. Let me just go back to my Swagger. And if I say execute now, it should return the empty at least. That's the idea. Yeah, so we are getting to empty, right? At least we are not getting everything. Now we have to make sure that we fill this up. How? Let's go back to our code. And we just need to change this particular method. We have to fill this list. How will we do that? It's quite simple actually. If I go back, in fact, I don't know the code, right? So what I can do is I can just go back to my cloud and see the beauty here. You can see in the aggregation, when we do all this pipeline here, when we created this pipeline here, there's an option of export to language. Let's see what happens. If I click on this, this is the pipeline which we have, okay, for MongoDB. But if you want a language specific code, this is for Python. What if you want to do that for Java? This is a code, that's it. Just copy this code and it will work. Oh, not exactly. We have to do something extra as well. So we need to import, you can see we have two checkbox here. Let's click on this, you will get the entire stuff. So the first thing we need is this import libraries, and copy and paste. And if I go back here, paste, I need to import all this. The only thing is, I think MongoDB Client is not a part of. In fact, you know what I will do? I will not just use import, because there is some version issues, and I was able to resolve that by not copying it. Okay. The only thing you will need here is, do we need MongoDB Client? Okay. How will I get MongoDB Client here? Okay. It says we have to create an object. Okay. I will not do that. What I will do is I will just go back here. And since we are using Spring Framework, we can do something extra here. I can say Mongo Client, and I can say this is client. I will just declare it. I will not create the object. I want Spring Framework to do it for me, so that will reduce that line. So we don't have to use this line now. The next thing is it will ask you for database connection. Now we already have a database connection, but just to keep it simple, I will use the same line. I can use the entire code from here and paste it inside my method here. That's simple. Okay. It's just that now it's no more MongoDB client. We're just saying client, and we have to import all the packages for MongoDB. We have to import for control space. Anyway, we have already done that before, right? So this should be coming from the Beeson. Is it Beeson? Mongo, yeah. And then we have to import for MongoDB collection as well from a client. And then we have to, in fact, we'll change this. We'll not be using find iterable. Because when I was trying it, it was giving some issues. I found a solution. Instead of going for find iterable, we are going for aggregate iterable. You know why I'm doing that? Because this aggregate method returns aggregate iterable. So let's go with that. Let's import it for arrays as well. And done. This is your code. I know this doesn't look good because it's not formatted properly. So I can just do the formatting here so that you can see everything in one line. So basically, let me explain in brief what we have done. So basically what it does is, whatever we have done in the pipeline here, right? So this pipeline is converted into Java code. So basically it is using a document search. You can see we are doing a search here. Search is happening based on a text. So we can also replace that with a wildcard. And then it is asked for the query. What is your query? We have specified the query is Java. Of course, this should be changed. This should not be Java here. We'll replace that later. And then it also asks you for where exactly you want to search. You have to specify the path. So I want to search this in text, technologies, description, profile. I also want to specify, I want to sort. But based on what? I want to sort based on the experience, and one is ascending order. And then we have to limit by 5. I only want to see the 5 post. But then I don't want Java here. What I want is I want text. So whatever text I'm receiving from here, that will be the search term. Okay, this works. But then if you see we only got data in result, I want this data not in result. I want data in a post. How will you do that? So maybe we have to iterate. We have to search one by one posts and put that into post. How will you do that? Okay, so how do you get data from result? Oh, there's one more thing missing here. The database name is Telusko. You can also get this from the application.properties. You can just see we already have a database name here, so you can fetch data from there. You can fetch this value. But just to keep it simple, since we got code from the website itself, we'll use that. And here we need to make sure that we have, we are fetching one by one. So what I can do is I can use a result here, and result is iterable, right? So it says iterable, so we can iterate between the elements. And if I say dot, there is a method which is for each. So basically we'll iterate between each document. So I got a document here, and I will be using a lambda expression here, which is much better. So whatever document I receive for each iteration, I will add that in a post. As simple as that. So I can simply say posts dot add. Now the only thing is, I can simply add doc here, but that will not work because doc is a different format, post is a different format. This doc is basically a document format. The post here is basically a Java format. That will not work. So what we can do is we can basically use a converter here. So there is something called a Mongo converter. So if I go back here and if I say Mongo converter, and I can say converter, we just need to use this. And since I want the object of this, I can say auto-wired. Now using this converter, so I can say add, but I have to convert this before. So I have to say converter dot, there's a method called read, okay? And then in this, you have to pass two parameters. First is the class type you want to convert. So I want to convert this doc into post format. So post.class. And the second is a BSON source. BSON is basically document. The document itself is doc. So whatever doc you're receiving, we are passing that here. And this converter will convert that doc into post and it will add into the collection or the list. And we are returning it. I think we are done with this. But the main question is, will this work? Let's try. So I will save this and I will go back to my Swagger. It's here. Oh, we have to restart the application as well. Restart. Okay, server is running. Go back here and hopefully this will work. Click. Oh, there's an error. We missed something. So basically we are passing Mumbai and Mumbai is not working in the post. So basically there's something wrong with the mapping which we have done. It's sending text here. That text goes here. So what is the exact error? Let me check this file. So we got a client and then we have specified database name as well. Oh, this is empty. We have to also specify the collection. The collection is job post. I missed that. Okay, no errors. Let's go back here and say execute. Oh, can you see that we got it? So we got only one entry, which is for Mumbai because we don't have more entries for Mumbai. Okay, let's try something else. Let's try with threads. There should be only one post or one job with which has threads involved. And you can see we got threads. So we are basically searching for text now. And if I search for, let's say, Java, execute, and you can see you will get multiple records. Now it's searching for Java in the technologies, it is searching for Java in the text. Now what is important is if you can search the experience, you can see the list. It starts with the experience 1, experience 2 because we have sorted. And in total, you will get only 5. You know why 5? Because we have mentioned the limit here. If you remove the limit, it will be coming with all the records. And if you don't mention sort, it will just print as it is added in the collection. It's that simple. Okay. At this point, the Swagger is working. Swagger is very happy. But remember when we have a React application, refresh, if I go home, and if I say get job now, it's not working. The data is not coming here. Okay, what is wrong? Why is not coming? If I see the console, let's see the console here. Let's see what it says. Console says there is an issue with okay, there's a block. There's a problem with the access control allow origin. Basically, we have to allow the origins because they're coming from different server, right? The request is coming from the localhost 3000. So what you can do is for that, it's very simple. You can just come here and on top of your REST controller, you can mention cross origin and you can also mention from where you're getting the request. So I can say origins. There's only one as of at this point, which is http://localhost 3000. That's the React application we have. And that's it. We are done with this. I hope this will work. Go back here, refresh. Oh, it's still not working. There's something missing. Oh, it still says blocked. Oh, do I have to apply? Okay, let me know the solution, the proper solution for this. What I will do time being is, oh, first of all, it is post. It should be all post. That's what we have mentioned in the React application. I can change that. Maybe you can change that in React application or you can change it here itself. Just to make it easy, I'm changing it here itself. All post. And then I will use cross origin everywhere in every method just to be safe. And now if I go back and refresh, oh, can you see that we got our data? Yay, things are working out. I don't need you anymore. Close. And you can see we got our entries. And let's see if that search happens. And if I search for Java, or let's search for threads, it should print only one. Yeah, it's working. Can you see that? So what we have done in the React is every time you type something, if the length is more than 2 characters, it will hit the request. So for every character, it is hitting the request, I guess. It is, no, it has to match with the words. So it is sending the request, and the moment it matches with the words, you can also implement wildcard, and let me know how you do that in the comment section. If you are implemented wildcard and if it is working, record a video, upload that on YouTube, and paste the link in the comments, and I will approve it. Okay, I want to see your implementations, how you are doing it. So this is the threads, and yeah, this is working. We can also try it for hire the talent. Let me just enter the job profile here, which is for, let's say, editor. Editor is already there, right? Let's say maybe I want to search for, I want to hire a MongoDB developer, and experience should be, let's say, 3 years. I'll type something here, and the developer should also be familiar with Java. Submit. Let's refresh, and you can see that we got MongoDB developer working out, right? So this is how you build a project. So don't worry, I will just push this project in the GitHub. You will find that in the description for all 3 videos. And yeah, we have talked about everything. Everything is working fine. And let me know your experience in the comment section. And let me know if you want me to create more of such videos on projects. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and do subscribe for the videos. Bye-bye.